Hi, you're with Grandma Jensen again. Today we're going to do some canning. I love fresh fruits, vegetables. I just love to can because I feel like the quality is so much better. Sometimes pears can be intimidating, but they really aren't that hard. I'm going to do 1 jar and we'll see how long it takes me to actually get 1 jar ready for the canner. First step is, of course, I've already rinsed them off. I'm going to bring them over here to my scalding water. And it's very important to not scald for very long. So, if you have an Alexa, count to 20.
1, 2.
Oh, she's counting to 20 for me. I only do it 20 seconds. You can't do it any longer. Maybe 25. Because if you do it too long, the pear won't be nice and white anymore. So we're just doing it long enough to loosen those skins enough that I can rub them off. Now, I usually don't rub them off. My grandkids do. They love to come and help because I'm asking them to put their hands in a big cold can of water. And then imagine them all lined up and they get in here and they just go like this. See how easy that was and how pretty it looks? And it's important to get it all off of the ones that you've scalded. Don't leave them in the water in their skins. It won't work. It'll still be not a very pretty color. So you want it nice and white. So envision, I had 2 boys and a girl, 3 different bowls. We scalded 8 peaches at a time, so they each got 3, well, I guess 3 pears at a time. So they each got their pears out every time I scalded. And this is what they do. They just rub, rub, rub. And then comes my part. And they'd hand them to Grandma. And I did my step. Now, my step is to get them in the jar. In here is my light syrup water, and I like to put some in there. It was 1 gallon of water to 1½ cups of sugar, and I just warmed it up on the stove. I cut the pear in half, and this cool little pear knife. I got it off of Amazon, but see how little it is right at the top? It takes a little part there, and then it deeps down, and I get my pear. Then if I have a wide mouth, I can kind of put that pear in really pretty so it stacks up. And get it out. And there's my next pear. Now, we don't grow our own pears, but if you want to can pears, I promise you there's always a place, well, I better not make a promise. There's usually always a place you can get some fresh produce. Farmers markets. And sometimes you can't beat the store price, but you can always beat the taste, always, of the fresh canned. And you just put those pears in so they look nice and pretty in your jar. I would hate to have to peel these without that little bit of scalding. And I don't think they're any darker than if you did sit and do it. If it needs a little rinsing off, I'll rinse it off. Always look on the other side because you want, bruises will taste like bruises. They won't be good. And put that one in. Looks like maybe 1 more will fit. Now I also have a narrow mouth jar. So there's the difference. This is wide, this is narrow. I cannot put my hand down the narrow one, but the price of the lids are cheaper, and I actually just drop them in and they still look pretty. So there's the second one. We're going to tell him slide in there, and I think I can fit 1 more, but not the whole half. At the reward of every 7 quarts, the kids would say, "Grandma, I'm starving to death." Kids are always starving to death at Grandma's house, always. And I'd say, "Oh, it must be time to eat a pear." So I would cut one up, and instead of putting it in the jar, I'd hand it to them, and they were in 7th heaven, and they were good for 7 more pears. Okay, notice that I wiped the top of the jar off. It has to be nice and clean. And somewhere I have, there's my lids. I finished showing you the process. It does say to warm these up, scald them a little bit in some water, and you can do that just till it comes to a boil. I put the lid on, screw it on, about like that. Now, I don't have a water bath. I use a steamer canner. And either one works. The processing time is exactly the same. I love this because all it has to come to boil is the water that's inside. It was wonderful when they invented it. I don't know, whenever they did. I remember using it at least for 30 years. Victorio has one that has a gauge on it, so it will tell you when to start timing it when you're in your time zone. And so I like that about this one. And we just fill up with all 7 quarts. I put the lid on, and then this little dial starts to go up, and it gets in that green area, which is for us in Utah. And then I time it. And you can your fruit. Check the internet for that, because it all has to be done according to what the processing times is for your area.
Your local agricultural college.
Probably, how long did it take? 5 minutes to fill a quart jar? Not very long, so it's not too hard. Now the other day we did 74 quarts. This is all I've got left here, because this is all, well, actually not very many of them are ours. We can, with our kids, for our kids. Then we'll all have food and be healthy and nutritious. Have a very good day, because I've got to fill my other 6 quarts.